Welcome back, everybody, to the first in a new season of the Corporate Esports Association Overwatch Tournament. I'm Big Hungry Phil, and with me from the other side of the sea is Man of Class. Classy, how's it going?
It's going great. Obviously, we're finally back, Corporate Esports Association. It's been a while. It
Little
really
bit.
has. We were talking before this game, and we're like, I can't even remember when the finals were. Of course, it wasn't like 5 months ago, but it's been a while, definitely.
It's
The
it,
good
it it
thing
was
is
it was in the year that we shall not name.
exactly. Well, the good
Yeah.
thing is that at least one of these teams we're very familiar with because we still vaguely remember them actually playing the finals. And the other team, we know the name, we know some of the players, but they changed their entire roster up. So there will be some familiarity to what we're
Mhm.
getting today. But of course, we had balance patches in the meantime. You've had just a lot of things going on in the scene as a
Mm.
whole. BlizzCon is upcoming. There's a lot going on with Overwatch right now, Phil.
It's certainly a busy time at the very least looking ahead. It's a little bit dry on the ground if we're looking for tier 1, tier 2 and even tier 3 content at the minute, which is why
Yeah.
we're very pleased to bring you standalone tournaments like this. But as Classy hinted at previously, we have seen these teams before. At the very least, we've seen the names of both. It's last year's number 2 seed, Amazon Fire Force, up against number 4th finishing Facebook, Mace to the Facebook, actually, that team name. And whilst the Amazon team are more or less exactly the same as we saw them back on December 19th in the grand finals, Mace to the Facebook, we suspect, might be, if not the victim, at least the recipient of a split between two different Facebook teams this season.
Yeah, they're coming in with quite a few new names, or at least names that we haven't really seen in this
Mhm.
combination before. So when you look at these two teams, Amazon Fire Force, like you said, we know these players in this formation. We've seen them before. Mace to the Facebook, though, they've got O'Malley. They've got Derek, Guac, Sora, Waycool, Ambrosia, and Angie Baby, depending on who they want to sub in, because that's 7 names. But Amazon has 9 players on them. NJ, Ziphos, V for Taeyong, Smex, Impact, Pandalogic, Technality, Caspian, and Asa are all making their way back this season. So it's going to be a whole, I would say a reunion, but it's definitely going to be a rematch between some of the players of these two teams.
Yeah, and I think the reason I'm looking off screen is I do have all these names up. To the best of my ability
Same.
to remember, I believe it's O'Malley and Waycool that was still on Mace the Facebook back at the end of last season. We're
Yeah.
obviously going to have to wait until we're in the season proper and we have all the team sheets to let you know exactly how this split has worked, because this is actually week 0. That's right, we are a 0 indexed league here. We've just got this opening week for fun and glory, just to get our teams warmed up and get them back into the competitive spirit. And where better to start than with the 2nd and 4th place teams from last year. But we're talking now about a game that happened nearly 2 months ago, Manaclass. So
Even
what has
more
changed? What
as
are we
well.
looking for? Like what's the meta at the minute? What can we expect?
I mean, I don't even remember what the meta was like 2 months ago. Like, there's it just didn't. The thing is, there haven't been these massive balance patches, right? It's not like
Mm,
we've seen a new hero come in, new maps, or like drastic changes to some of them. But we've seen a lot of these smaller tweaks, especially before and after the holiday period, during which it was, of course, a bit quiet, that do actually make some difference. There's currently even an experimental patch on, which I'm kind of almost sad that it's not on right now, but
mm,
they're still gonna have some fun with the right heroes. What I will say though is what was strong a few months ago is still gonna be just as good, especially when you're
mm,
not talking about Overwatch League contenders level. Teams are usually a bit more relaxed, a bit more lenient, a bit more willing to swap things up, and we're gonna probably see a trend which we've seen a lot. One team starts with something like a compositional style, a core composition, and the other team either isn't prepared for it, is prepared incorrectly for it, has to adapt to it, and then we might see that shuffle going on of back and forth, of switching in, switching out. That's been a big trend that we've seen during CEA last season, and I'm expecting that to continue on through now as well. Of course, there are heroes that are on paper better than others, but we'll also see some players just be better at other heroes that
mm.
might be considered off meta.
Well, we can stop speculating. We are about to load into our first map, which is going to be a
Yeah.
control map. The format for today is first to 3, best of 5, however you want to split that particular one. And we're going to be starting on Busan. And so a bit more of a chaotic start to this. I think there's a lot of variation across the 3 maps. So if we're looking to see one team come out with a very specific style, expect that to move across the 3 map sets if we go as far as 3, I think.
Yeah, of course, and I do always appreciate it when teams bring us to at least further than those 3 maps, because you always do feel that control. It's a bit of that warm up map type, right? You don't
Yeah.
really, no one. I don't think a lot of players really love control, but they like the fact where control is positioned in the map pool and in the game modes that we have. We're going to see Mace to the Facebook start here in the red, looking to be a Reinhardt Zarya composition with the Junkrat and the McCree. With a speed boost out the gate and a Baptiste as well to go along with it. Amazon going to be bringing the same tank duo and a Lucio, but everything else is different.
Yeah, and interesting for me, Panda Logic starting on DPS here was, I believe, a support player from the Gold team last season. So let's see how this role swap works out for them. Mace to Facebook already giving up ground with cooldowns to come back in before aggressing back towards Amazon Fire Force. Panda Logic, we can see, has to rate out and buy himself a little bit of safety. And Spicy Puma, I'm sorry to say that yes, there is a magnetic attraction between a Doomfist and a Junkrat trap. That means it's back to spawn for you, my friend, and Mace to Facebook with a clean shunt over onto point and an early cap.
Not even that, not just that, they also have a clear advantage in ult charge. You have the Shatter up, the Immortality Field, most importantly that Rip Tire that can in and of itself just end the fight right there. It's great potential, and if they manage to slowly trickle out these ultimates over time, they can get a high percentage before Amazon can get in.
Oh, shut out with Max. Gate laid open behind it, Amson some damage coming on through. Will some kills start to come through. 2 thoughts used for 1 clean engagement and a win there for Mace to the Facebook.
And Impact even investing the Coalescence just makes that trade so worth it. I mean, you give up 1 more ultimate, but you will also have more things to go into it with. Just block the Shatter, don't get grabbed, and you'll probably be fine.
That's good advice there. Block the Shadow, don't get grabbed, and the Shadow comes out. Looks like it hasn't found too many victims. Z-Force got to get focused down. Rock goes to the high noon, won't find anything, but Lease comes back with a full clip, ready to start shooting. Oz rends his way through the beam and finds a kill. The Riptide Derek still up, still at high charge. Now has the grab ready to work with, and we are past the halfway marker.
Going up to that 60% mark, this is always when you start seeing the other team get a bit more of an upper edge. You look at the ultimate charges, look at the way they're positioning themselves. They want to make a move now, and they definitely have the tools to work with. Only question is, will they be allowed to get in?
Still have Spicy Pooman here on the Doomfist, and again, the second we come to focus on him, he gets focused down. There's the grab it on Surge, Coalescence coming through, Immortality Field up as well, but Amazon Fire Force have now started to find a couple of kills. NJ's maintaining a good level of charge, now over onto the point to deal with Ambrosia, who wants to eke out these final few percents to get to 99. Won't quite reach it, but Mace the Facebook have a considerable lead in this fight.
Yeah, they're going to set Panda Logic up for this flank, and this flank is going to be, I mean, hopefully leading to a successful Death Blossom, maybe in combination with the Shatter. But definitely, they have to be ready for this Reaper, wherever he drops from. And I don't know if they know that Panda Logic is here. They might have seen him, because they're going to run into him now. Panda Logic is not going to press that button. It's good that he doesn't press that button, though. That would have been risky.
Ooh, that's nice from Oz as well, too, with the tire. Spice Boomer and Panda Logic both pull the cord on the ult at the same time, find 3 between them. A lot of overshields there for Spicy Puma, but there's nobody there to keep him alive in the fight. And Derek is a force to be reckoned with here for Mace the Facebook as they look to reclaim the point. Chickenality buys a bit more time for Z-Force to get onto the point. With Impact, let's try and keep him alive, but there are substantially more members of Mace the Facebook. That healing's gonna run out shortly. He backs off the point, gets the charge in, has the bubble, getting healthier now, but not healthy enough. 2 kills coming through, and Spicy Pooman just gets stunned and deleted.
You can just see how much of this is about that tank battle right now. I mean, tanks have such a hard time in the current metas. It's been getting worse and worse because barely any tanks have been buffed. It's mostly been nerfs across the board. And I mean, the health bars have gone up a little, but it's just not seems to be enough. Right. Oh, they might actually. I was gonna say they almost put NJ on the point with that mine just to elongate their suffering, but no. And we'll see how much it's gonna matter in furthering of these maps and whether these teams will stick with this Ryan Zarya because they feel they can keep their tanks alive that way. But there's a lot to be said for especially tanks like a Wrecking Ball, maybe even Winston Diva at times. Because of their evasion, not because they necessarily have more health, not because they necessarily do more damage or can take more damage, but just because they evade more. They distract, they misplace, they're just a nuisance to deal with. And Wrecking Ball is, of course, the prime example of that. We do see Ziffa selecting that right now. And on this map in particular, with such open space and nice movement potential, that's definitely a choice that I approve of.
There's a couple of different approaches here. Amazon Fire Force with a kind of an altered dive, the heavy dive with the Wrecking Ball, where Mace the Facebook opting to play the double bubble here. Let's see how these two compositions clash. Zebos already forced to use a number of cooldowns there, won't have the adaptive shields for a little while, but Oz on the Tracer gets in, finds his opposite number, Panda Logic down, and Mace the Facebook making it to look this early engagement seem very, very simple.
It really does. I mean, doesn't really get anything out of that engagement early. Ooh, you're online, Guac. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the CEA. It's only preseason, but if this is your warm-up, I want to see what gets rolling later.
Here's the thing, though. Like, he's running into a dive. In theory, this is very easy to displace him. He's got to be really quick at finding those early shots.
So far, it's been going fine, but there's Ziphos. This is what's gonna happen. Ziphos, it's gonna be his job to just always be on top of the Widowmaker, and Guac might just go down straight away here.
Ooh,
what a dive.
Nice. Yeah, big connection. Finds the dive, gets the rundown with the primary fire, survives the stun, survives the sleep, still rolling on through, keeping on trucking, not a care in the world here. Spicy Poo Man now over onto the Genji. 68% of the order from climbing gets in. Knife into the back onto Waycool on the Anna. Chickenality with the ball to round up the final blow. And there's the flip much quicker this time from Amazon Fire Force.
Amazon Fire Force retaking that in a fairly convincing fashion. A lot of that, of course, has to do with the ability to just zone out Guac from the get-go. Guac will have their infra site ready, so that could give them by a bit more space by just the threat of them being there. But at least they know they will or will not run into a Wrecking Ball. They can position themselves a bit more intelligently, and that might help.
Well, infra site is currently up. It's only got a few more seconds. Spicy Poo Man's going to come in with that Genji Blade sometime soon, but as Chickenality's found the early pick here, we might not even need that. O'Malley's forced to pop the Primal Rage. It's Angry Monkey Swingy Army time now, looking to bully Derek away into the back. Burns through the shield, keeping him juggled, not letting him put a foot on the ground. In the meantime, Spicy Poo Man's going to pull up the blade, finds one pick. What finds one off in the distance here as well, and the blade was not enough. Oz and Rock between them find the double. One more for Ambrosia. The Goomba Stomp onto Chickenality takes him out of the fight here, and this has to be the flip now. Interesting. Note that we have actually got... no, do you know what? Ignore that. I was going to raise a dumb point. Let's move on with it, Classy.
It's okay. Waycool's biotic grenades have been on point, though. They've been so good at anti-nading. Yeah, Chickenality's Transcendence came out, but half the team was just purple, so couldn't do anything against it. And then later on, as soon as Spicy Poo Man pulls out that blade against the biotic grenade comes out, so Waycool's really a player to look out for to see how much they can disable a lot of this dive.
Zephos with a slightly clumsy initiate there, finds the power driver, does drop the mines, receives the stick, desperately trying to find this kill onto Guac, but she gets away, and Oz brings in the support around the rear and deals with Zephos. Makes the Facebook now in the lead. Looking to close this out at a 2-0. Impact trades out for Spicy Poo Man. Guac up onto the high ground. We've seen the damage he can do from a bit, but Chickenality at range. No drop off on those orbs, my friend, but Chickenality is now a sitting duck. Duckanality, if you will, and Mace the Facebook still holding on. This is last fight territory.
Last fight territory incoming. Ziphos has the minefield that will definitely be allow them to get on the point and control it to a degree, as long as they don't get stunned up before they get there. And that's a nice area to release control. That definitely helps with the dive that wants to move around freely. Now, can they hold on and actually convert into kills? The anti-nade's good again, Phil.
That is a massive anti-nade, but the kills just aren't there. Mace the Facebook have the momentum. They've got time on their side. They can just keep trying to stall this out and back people away from the point. Speaking of which, NJ will have the Primal Rage here. Amazon Fire Force with that 1-2 remaining, and they manage the flip here. They didn't even need to use the Primal Rage. And Guac, good try, my friend, but come back and try that one again.
Japes might still use the Primal Rage in the end here, but I don't think he will. Has plenty of time to work with. That Graviton, though. I have a feeling Derek might swap. Otherwise, this is a really weird position to use that Grav in. Yeah, we do see it. There's the Wrecking Ball. I mean, it was kind of overdue with all the diving and mobility that's happening. Zarya really cannot get any damage down, so it took very long to get that Grav. That was the first Grav this round. That's not what you want to see from your Zarya.
A couple of ults here for Amazon Fire Force could turn the tide, but Spicy Booman already low will have to back out before they can bring out the Dragon Blade, and out it comes. No kills on it just yet. Guac can't dodge the blade yet. Guac's gonna go down, and it's 2 kills in favor of Amazon Fire Force. There's the third as NJ pulls up Primal Rage back over on point, and Mace to the Facebook looking to just hold on by a toenail here, but can't do it. Amazon Fire Force take us to 1-1 on Busan.
1-on-1, that's what you love to see. Close game already. Let's see if it carries on through the rest of the series. But who's going to take away this first map? That's still a question mark. And I mean, this is one of those hybrid points. You can play that more open style, but you can still bunker up or bunch up, brawl up as well. It does seem like both these teams so far are wanting to be a bit more about that mobility. That being said, Spicy going over to the Torbjorn, they might go over to a Sig. Ooh, that's actually going to be double barrier from Amazon Fire Force, which is, I mean, again, it's very possible on this map, especially if you control that high ground area behind the point on your side with the stone placket, or it's a tablet, you might want to call it. I'm not entirely sure whether their point control is going to be universal with such mobility against them.
I guess the problem is like how, yeah, you've got one stun, you've got 2 stuns, and you've got the open Discord to deal with a Wrecking Ball, right? But a good Wrecking Ball is probably not going to give you the chance to do that. Look at the speed that O'Malley made their way through on that one. Took a bit of a winding on the way through it, able to get back up to respectable levels of health, displace that bunker composition, and start to provide another angle of threat. Guac's able to get a TNT in and get that ultimate meter starting to tick up. The old jiggle peak there works down NJ. We're down 2 apiece here as Wakefull's able to find Spicy as well. Chicken Alley able to find another one, and Amazon Fire Force look like they're taking the early cap here. We still do have Derek left on the point, but that's going to be... In fact, the cap has already happened. This is 1/5 of the way through for Amazon Fire Force.
You know that the win condition of Mace to the Facebook is not going to be we stand on the point and fight. That's not how they work. They need to catch Amazon Fire Force in rotations, force them in rotations. It's a longer poke battle that they have to fight. They use the mobility to get around the shields. They use their displacement to get around the shields. But now they switch over to the exact same composition with the one difference between McCree and Ashe. So it still works, but now they basically have to win the fight straight up. And when Chicken Alley does that, that's not going to happen.
I was about to say that I feel like having the Ashe here gives Mace of the Facebook a little bit of an advantage, because Panda Logic is going to be working at a much reduced range, but Guac just stood there and took the headshot.
Yep. I mean, the peek can come in. Like, Ashe is one of those heroes that can scope while she's peeking at the same rate. Like, she doesn't really get a movement penalty for that, just like a lot of other heroes, some other heroes do.
I like this from Zephos.
I mean, yeah, he just gets the ult charge, right? He's
yeah.
been so close to this ultimate already.
Quick reposition there, but they haven't spotted Panda Logic. He actually gets rocked out of that before the trick can get pulled. But Chicken Alley and NJ able to find the double regardless. There's the triple Spicy. He's able to find Wakefull with the tactical arrow. And now NJ is able to get the rundown on their opposite number. And yes, we are in range. We are up close and personal for the tactical calisthenics.
It's all going to be a very tough to pull back here for Mace to the Facebook. They had a good thing going in point 1. They almost captured on point 2, but this round just seems to be impossible for them to get on. Derek manages to touch. The Bob gets on as well. But they need so much more. They need to start converting into eliminations, and it's not happening right now.
They've already lost Derek. They're in the 5v6. Spicy's able to pull out the dragon from point blank range. That's going to take up the immortality field. The damage has been done here. Oz gets off one of their own, but it's just too little, too late. Derek's going to tag back in here, but all the focus fire in the world is coming his way, and he's down. Oz, though, Oz is coming back alive. He's not going to be able to do enough. A nice 3k at the back end of the fight, but too late.
It's unfortunate, right? Because Oz, like you said, does get started to pop off. But to be fair, if you look at that entire engagement, what happens in the end there, that's all on Amazon Fire Force sort of letting go and like go in at Mace in the Facebook to try and stop them touching the point. That's why Oz gets those openings, because of desperation touches, because of the focus fire that Amazon is having to do, which makes him not protect angles as well. So not exactly a almost comeback, but definitely got almost interesting. That's how you put that. that means that Amazon Fire Force is once again reaffirming that they were the second place from last time. Mace of Facebook was fourth, but that doesn't mean it's over just yet. Control is that game mode where you get a very limited amount of attempts to actually try and break a composition that's on defense.
Mm.
And we'll see if they can actually manage to do better on some other game modes, which we always look forward to.
There was a lot of back and forth. That last map
Yeah.
in the subset, maybe not quite so much, but the first two were not a 99-0 blowout. And whilst it's hard to gauge from a control map exactly how the entire series is going to go, I kind of feel that was a good indicator that we should expect some signs of life from Mace to the Facebook. This relatively new roster, some returning players, some new players, not sure how they're going to mesh together. And so the fact that they're able to actually take a point off of Amazon Fire Force, the number 2 team, bodes well, not just for today, but for the rest of the season. I think this is a team that we can look at when we get to the regular season to start to see them pulling their own weight and maybe making playoffs again next season. Next season? This
Yeah.
season.
Of course, of course. And, we keep talking about Mason and Facebook being a relatively new team in this current setup. We were already speculating before, oh, did they do it because they didn't win last time? Did they do it, like, what is the reason behind it? And of course, we'll probably be able to ask them at some point
Mm.
what the whole thought behind it was. For now, though, we're just going to see what their gameplay is like. I mean, just go into the next maps, see what they do. We have at least 2 more maps coming, maybe more. Rialto is going to be our next map of choice. Of course, an escort map. And it looks that's going to be. I'm looking forward to that because I think Rialto opens up an opportunity for multiple compositions and
Mm.
multiple, especially different DPS and tank picks. Supports seem to be relatively set on what these teams want to do, though. They
Mm.
really like the Zenyatas. They really like the Baptistes. Maybe the Ana can come in sometimes, but they are looking for a fairly static extra damage support line next to, of course, also having some support next to it.
And I'm just thinking, I think actually we've seen every support except Mercy come out just in this opening map.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
we've
possible.
clearly got a lot of variability, a lot of options here for our support lineup. I don't think it's a terrible map, particularly on offense for something like an Echo or something like a Farah, which maybe we will see the Mercy and get that full sweep of supports in the opening 2 maps. But as you say, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of variation, not just between teams, but also between points, because there are definitely things that can work quite well on points 1 and 2. I'm thinking long range snipers in particular that just don't have quite that same punch power when we get to that very angular third point where the sight lines are that much shorter.
Yeah, maybe you even see a Pharaoh or an Echo come out. Who
Maybe.
knows? It's
Yeah.
it's a very real possibility. I think Mercy is the one support we haven't seen yet,
Yes, correct.
if not mistaken. So that would be the one that
Yeah.
that comes
Sure, we
out.
just
And
have
there
sure we just
are
had this conversation, Classy.
yeah,
Yeah, we did.
sure. Sure,
It's fine.
it's fine. We will see. Well, I mean, maybe they're gonna bring some subs, right? Because both these teams are actually rocking at least one substitute. And we have seen in the past season and past seasons even that teams that have multiple players often give these substitute players an actual chance to play. They're not just substitutes that are just bench players perpetually most of the time. They oftentimes actually come in to play some rounds. And yeah, that might also change what compositions they run, what heroes are being preferred.
Mm.
When you look at the Mace of the Facebook team, Angie Baby, that isn't put in this time around, is actually listed as a signature Mercy player. We will see the defense of Amazon Fire Force here already being pelted by rockets, though, because Oz and Ambrosia are on that pharmacy composition.
That's right, and whilst they will have Xylon to try and deal with some of that, really, the range on the McCree is not really sufficient to deal with it, particularly with the Mercy Pocket in play. And man, Oz is just throwing down the damage, halfway to the ult already, and Jake's going to go down as part of that, but they will trade out. O'Malley down already. Receives the stun, takes a lot of damage, down to 100 HP there for Derek, has to rotate, has to get out of the way, isn't going to manage it. Amazon Fire Force push their way back. They've lost chickenality here. There is a chance that Mace the Facebook with respawns can make their way through.
So, basically, Facebook has to find a way not to fight in this tight alleyway, especially with their tanks. Because O'Malley is not a Reinhardt. That's a good bubble combo. They were ready for it, and Jade can just make sure that doesn't do anything. Oh, the spicy boomerang get that kill on the side though onto the Ana. Way cool out.
Wow.
And there goes Oz. This is not a nice position for them to be in so far.
No, but I think they may have overplayed their hand here. Look at this. Derek and Guac able to get the double on what was looking like a very good hold here from Amazon Fire Force is starting to crumble. Mace and the Facebook have found what they need to start moving on forward. The shadow comes out from Z-Force as well, but there's not a lot of people there to help him follow up. He buys some space. They manage to take down O'Malley, but they trade it for Z-Force. Wow, spicy from the back lines finds Guac. Not an exchange you expect the Hanzo to win 9 times out of 10. Luckily, Ambrosia's there on the Mercy. We've now seen all 6 ports, by the way, brings Guac back into the fight. Oz will have the barrage here in this next fight, and we've also got the Graviton Surge coming up, and that is a big combo.
It should be a big combo if they can hit the targets. They are really going bunched up right now, Phil, so they really could, and there they go.
Here it is! There's one, and spicy with the Stormbow takes Oz down, but I feel like the damage might have been done here. Z-Force able to find one with a kill, but Guac on the high ground is just going to town. Look at that kill feed. It's Guac with the triple, and Mace to the Facebook surely looking to push their way through. Guac's taking that off angle here, looking to get people as they respawn back in. We are seeing some changes coming through as Xylo themselves swaps over onto the Widowmaker. Oh wow, Guac.
Doesn't matter. The spawn
Guac
angle
is
has been achieved. That is 2.
Oh my day!
Woo!
Okay, this game, the strategy for Amazon Fire Force has just become, how do we stop the Guac?
Look, it's such a known angle though. Like everyone knows you can have that angle on Widowmaker there. If you've played this game enough, at least, which all these players should have, they should be aware of that angle. And still, Guac got to just stand there, no pressure on it. There was barely any shots fired back. And now Guac can just keep on going, even as the infrasight ready, which will be very valuable in terms of where are they. I think they're going to have to activate it soon if you don't want to get shot by this Widowmaker, because Xylon will punish you if you don't.
Yeah, maybe a little bit cocky with that one. Grab comes out too. Ambrosia has that ready to go, but it's not going to be enough with the Dragon Lady over the top. Yeah, Ambrosia just giving up on that one. Derek going for a swim. And Amazon Fire Force find a way to hold.
I will say, the way that Mace to the Facebook is playing this so far has been effective enough that they don't have to switch off it. So O'Malley's play on the Winston is pretty much to just separate that backline from the mid and front line, from the DPS, from the tanks. And then they have to try and win that frontline battle without getting punished by the Reinhardt, who basically should not be getting any support at that stage. Maybe an Immortality Field gets through. But that's about the most they get. And that distraction of the Winston then makes the space as well for Oz and Guac to be able to ruin their target. Like, you see how much power pressure Xylon is on there? That just means that Oz has free reign.
It's a heck of a combo, but Oz is currently on their way back to spawn. Impact's able to find the kill there. The real hit scan put at the team. Of course, being the Baptiste, it would seem O'Malley takes a lot of damage on the way out, but does escape, can feed some of that back to support to get those ults online.
Well, the hard part for O'Malley is how long can I stay in before I have to jump out? So how much time do I give the rest of my team to do something? And so far, more often than not, that time has not been enough. It's been too short, the health is dropping too fast, and they don't really have a way to easily support him. Guac, though, knows that the best offense is offense. Just shoot them in the head, and you don't even have to worry about a tank game.
Xylon does currently have the infrasight up, and it means that the angles that can be taken by Guac are somewhat limited. O'Malley's down, Graviton Surge, barrage in over the top. There's the double. The Reinhardt shield is not enough to cover the damage that comes in from that. In comes the res. O'Malley now back in the fight with the Primal Rage ready to go. That's going to be key here for buying space to get this card over the line and get us to point 3. Just under a minute left for that to happen.
I think they'll be able to make it because they cannot contest this with these limited amount of numbers. They're going to try, but they don't have any ultimates to do, and if they throw ultimates into this, they might just be wasting them. It's a good, maybe a good amplification matrix. O'Malley tries to throw the Primal as an answer.
Wow, that was a huge nade as well. Sound barrier out from Chickenality. There's the shadow as well. Z-Force able to get that online, and O'Malley gets focused down. There are less than 2 meters separating that payload and point C, and they've managed to claw it back. There's only 2 of them left on the card. It's Xylon and Spicy. Oz on the high ground, taken out by Xylon, and Xylon left alone to hold the cart until the reinforcements come through.
Yeah, Guok getting a few pretty good kills at the end there, but the problem is that their respawns are so far away, it won't really matter in the grand scheme of things. O'Malley has to try and stall here the CC, and the movement should be enough to at least get the rest of the team there. But is this going to be enough? Is this Barrage going to win it?
Oh, Barrage! Only part of the voice line able to come off on that one, and the is still running. The pressure's there, and they are forced off the cart. That's as far as we're going to go on Rialto. But now the sides are going to swap classy, and we get to see what Mace to the Facebook do on defense.
Yeah, we're really looking for Mace to the Facebook's defensive strategy, because while the offensive strategy could have theoretically worked, you did see that Amazon Fire Force didn't have a problem getting enough damage in where their own lack of healing due to O'Malley's bubble didn't really matter. I liked the way that they tried to approach it, but I do feel that Mace to the Facebook kept trying to force a fight in a suboptimal position around these chokes, around these very narrow passageways where the space they could potentially abuse, like the more open space fights, never really took place. They took place in the courtyard, which is when they want to fight, and after they cross the bridge, which is where they want to fight. And those are kind of the only 2 fights they really won, because they finally got the space to make their composition work. So if they cannot do that again on the defense, if they keep trying to force these fights, or if Amazon Fire Force is allowed to force these fights only in these choke points, they're gonna have a very tough time defending this. And they are setting up for a similar compositional style. Ours is on the Tracer this time, which means Ambrosia is going to be on the Zenyatta, so that might give them a bit of more of a damage edge. But it's still going to be tough to get the damage on these tanks, especially if Derek is the only real frontliner.
And I think it mandates a swap from Guok as soon as they realize what's being run at them, because it's just going to be difficult, at the very least, if not impossible, for Guok to find the sort of value she was finding in the previous round across both of those shields. Now the scouting's been done, they know that O'Malley is up there, and Guok is looking for an angle, but all this time the payload is running in more or less uncontested. Bit of a mistime on that rock from Z-Force means that O'Malley gets out, but Xylon has already got the better of Oz here, so Amazon Fire Force are making steady progress.
At this point, you do need to start wondering, do we need to swap? You do get Spicy out of the way, so it is a bit of an even situation here. But you do lose Guok, and you're gonna probably lose more because the tanks are completely split from the front line now, from the back line now, and Derek is just alone. You can see it happen again.
And of course, the Hulk just completely stops Derek being able to escape with any of that charge available. And Impact was just able to get in over the top and find enough damage to get those kills. I want to see swaps here. I want to see a more solid front line from Mace to the Facebook. And I want to see Guok make a swap and bring out the Glock and go on McCree here, just to try and slow them down a little bit.
Yeah, the McCree, the Ashe, the Reaper, there's so many heroes that can just do a more consistently valuable job than Widowmaker that just needs to hit that one shot. Otherwise, she kind of just exists. And yeah, it stops Spicy to be from being a bit more free. But with that double barrier, Spicy's going to be free enough anyways.
There we go. You see the amplification matrix outpost bomb down, comboed with the Hulk to find Derek. And it's the 5v6 already, but NJ gets a little bit too deep, over-trusts that there isn't going to be a nade coming their way. Somehow Spicy finds the kill with the Venom Mine, not used to seeing that happening. Guok has a good high ground angle here, should in theory win this duel against Oz, but Oz just makes himself scarce, knows they don't want to take that duel, and instead retreats, and all the while the payload's starting to make progress. It is only 20 meters away from closing out, and Mace to the Facebook have just mounted their first defense of the round.
But they are defending now from a position of strength. Like, everything they can set up here, set up on high ground, poke down, do CC, maybe throw something on the river. There's a lot they can do with this position, and this composition finally starts making sense in this space where they can fight now. Is it too late? That's a question we'll know the answer to fairly soon. But, you know, it's promising. It's more promising than it was before.
4 minutes is a long time, but this is a notoriously difficult corner for the offense to take once it's been held. It's a good start, though. O'Malley's going to go down. We get the flux coming off. No kills on the back of it, but a lot of damage done. And Mace to the Facebook just crumble under the pressure here. NJ doesn't even feel the need to press forward. Oz able to tag onto Carton by a little bit of time, but there's too much focus, there's too much damage, there's too much pressure. O'Malley down, and that is it. Amazon Fire Force with a convincing offense on Rialto, taking us to match points.
So this is a very interesting dynamic between the two different compositions that Amazon's been playing. They've been playing the Brawl, actually three almost. They've playing Brawl, they played Double Barrier, and they've played Dive. And the Double Barrier is one of those compositions you need to get on top of it while they're still rotating so they're not set up. The Brawl is one of those ones you don't want them to get on top of you. And the Dive is also one where you don't want them to get up top of you, but it's mostly that if they get on top of you, you can like repel them. So all these three different play styles, the one they've been successful against has been Brawl. Brawl they can do. That's what Mace of the Facebook's good at. But they are misjudging how much damage they need to do in these rotations, how much damage they need to do within a certain amount of time in order to make their composition work. And that falls on different things. You could say, oh, we swap with the tanks, so we have a different front line. We swap with the supports, but the supports are kind of fine. I don't think that's where the issue is. It's either the DPS that aren't able to put out enough, or not fast enough, or it's the tanks that cannot hold on long enough for DPS to do their work. And there's some disconnect there in what they want to do versus what they can potentially do against this composition that Amazon is executing right now.
And of course, that's illustrated beautifully by the fact that on offense, we were like, oh my God, Guok, absolutely amazing, kill after kill after kill. And Amazon just went, okay, so the problem is that we're getting shot from over there, so we'll just put up a bunch of shields so that doesn't happen. And Mace of the Facebook
Yeah.
were just too slow to realize that that was a big part of the issue. The swap onto the Ash came up that final corner on the defense, it just wasn't quick enough.
It's really Double Barrier is really one of those compositions where you think, oh, they can't really do anything against me if I'm far enough away. But if you keep staying very far away, then they keep progressing the payload,
Yeah.
so you're not doing anything unless you break the shields and just wipe them out. So either you need to find some way to really wipe them from range, or you need to find a way to get on top of them while they're not set up yet. So in rotation or something like that. An escort would be a perfect map type to do that on. They're constantly moving, they're never standing still. But unfortunately, that's not quite how it turned out, or at least not how Mace the Facebook played it. And now we're going to see if they change that approach, because we're going to Kings Row. Kings Row, the map that everyone knows, that everyone's familiar with, the map where if you're gonna play Ryan Zarya, this is the map to do it on, and we'll see what they're gonna come up with.
I was just thinking, Classy, I don't know that we saw any other hybrid map except Kings Row last season of CEA. I think there may have been
Twice,
like
maybe. It was
one
not a lot.
one Blizzard World, yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's nice that we are leaning into this tradition in the first match, effectively a show match for the season, is
Yeah.
going to be back on Kings Row, the quintessential map, and a thing that plays really, really well into both Brawl and Double Shield. Is this going to be the map where we see Mace to the Facebook finally adapt into one of those comps and try and make it their own?
I feel like they're gonna go back to the Ryan Zarya for sure. What support and DPS they attach to it is still a bit of a question mark, but I do think that going on to, for instance, the Ana, going on potentially like the McCree, maybe still the Widowmaker or the Hanzo, something like that, is a very valuable thing for them to do. But the tank combo is really where they can make the main
Sure.
swap that has been very comfortable for them. That's the one tank combo they've won with Ryan
Yeah.
Zarya. Every other tank combo just hasn't quite worked. And we'll see as well if Amazon Fire Force is going to match that up, or if they're going to go with Double Barrier again, how they're going to play this. Because that makes a big difference in how you approach it as well.
Of course, and Amazon's double barrier has been really, really quite strong. But on the defense here for Amazon, we are, of course, honoring the tried and tested combination. Ryan Zarya on King's Row, looking to be from both teams here. But this is an interesting DPS lineup.
One big difference is the only difference so far in the lineups is the Baptiste versus the Ana. So Pandalogic on the Ana, Waku on the Baptiste. Everything else is the same. And McCree and Junkrat, yeah, break the barriers, do a lot of damage, flashbang when you need it, so you can combo a little bit. It's all anti-flank and spam, and that's really what King's Row is. I wouldn't say known for, but that's where you can really do well on King's Row, where there isn't a lot of room to miss.
Oh man, just look at Z-Force's ult charge. Clunking on up here, halfway to that shatter already. Xylon casually in the back line, just spamming in mines, doesn't care. Z-Force finds a pick. And with the main... Oh, might have overplayed that one a little bit there. Amazon Fire Force, Z-Force is going to go down. And Mace to the face, but smell blood in the water. Xylon and Spicy both down as well. Pandalogic forced to throw in that nade to keep themselves alive. And Japers there is high charge, but not going to be long for this world. Pandalogic down and... Amazon Fire Force, the second you pull out the Pillar of the Reinhardt, the whole thing came tumbling down.
No, both Reinhardts went down. The big deal was really about Pullman and Xylon going down. Those were the ones that couldn't put any pressure back. It was just NJ on the Zarya. At that stage, it's just you're getting overrun. We saw it last map with Derek, but that was a quick shatter that had been built up already.
Wow, well, the shadow came out, but it didn't do an awful lot in the face of the mines coming through from Aussie. I think that was a 3-for-3 trade there. Z-Force down, and arguably Mace to the Facebook coming off the better here with the respawn advantage. Zydle needs to get something big here with the Tyros. Only got 3 seconds left. It's not going to reach. That's it in the middle of no man's land, no man's value land for that one for Xylon, and Mace to the Facebook continue pushing on through.
And that's unfortunate because that means that Mace of the Facebook has every advantage they could possibly have. They haven't even built up a shatter yet, but Oz does have that tire that's not available for them. Everything else is even though. They all have all these same ultimates, but that advantage is there.
Well, it's a big grab. It's potentially a big window. Sound barrier comes on through there for Amazon Fire Force. It keeps them alive through that, and Xylon's able to find the double. Also finds one with the tie here as well. Ambrosia getting in on the action at 2. Derek, high charge. Woe's in the grab, but it looks like the Reinhardt's able to escape, and Impact's going to go down here. My bad, that was O'Malley. Of course, he's not going to get caught in Derek's grab. Xylon finds one with the passive mines, and Mace to the Facebook keep up the momentum.
Mace to the Facebook, and this is the look that we saw from them on that first checkpoint of Busan. That first mecha base point where they just looked so good on the brawl, and they can do it again here on King's Row. I mean, I keep saying it, they can brawl, they're fine, but other than that, it still has some issues.
Oh, Spicy holding on to that one a little bit too long. A couple of chances for a kill, but the hammer comes down. The tire comes out, but it's only going to find the immortality deal. Nicely timed there from Waco. But they've got an opportunity now. They're all down nice and low. And that's going to be it. Amazon Fire Force surging back on through. And NJ wants these final few kills, wants to stagger them out as much as possible. They've got Lucio with them. Z-Force with the charge. Misses, but still wants those kills. That's the signal to come back now, guys.
No, we're going to have to regroup, retry. And this second checkpoint can be very hard to get once this card's rolled this far, because you have that respawn disadvantage. You have that long way to run, which they can already spam damage at you, especially if you look at players like Xylon and NJ that can just do damage from such range. And yeah, you're also not looking at a necessarily great ult advantage. They have 3 minutes, so they can definitely do what they want to do. It just might take a while.
Ooh, I love this rotation from Mace to the Facebook, though. Coming in on the high ground, it's not typically what you'd expect. It allows them to get the drop down and take up the defensive position, but they've got to move in quickly to find it. O'Malley throws in the shatter. Won't find anything on the back of that, but the rest of the team are using that space effectively. Sound barrier cancels out any impact from the Graviton Surge, and Mace to the Facebook made a heck of a play. Big rotation from the high ground, and now Amazon Fire Force are going to have to wait and try this again at 3rd point.
The best thing about that is that it allows the DPS to stay on the high ground. Guac had such a just free shooting range there. As you love it as a McCree. She must have been well, brimming with glee, I'd say.
Yeah.
Gonna be seeing what Mace to the Facebook's gonna be doing getting in here, though. Gonna get the high noon out soon, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they've given up a lot of space here.
Mace. Yeah.
Here they come back in, buying some space for Whack to come in with the high noon, looking for something with it, but Amazon Fire Force making themselves scarce around the corner, which might have been enough here for Mace to Facebook to start the grind around these final 2 turns. O'Malley is on the front line, taking a heck of a beating. Derek too, Xylon's able to find them, take them down. Gonna try and get something done here with the amplification matrix. Fire Strike goes through, won't find a target. Spicy has now a high noon of their own, but it's hard to find an angle for this to be particularly effective. We're going to look to find something with it, and the sound barrier keeps them alive through it. Oz is going to go down for Whack 2. There's no DPS alive here for Mace the Facebook, which means it's just that little bit safer for Amazon Fire Force to push in.
And now you're going to have Xylon be able to take these off angles as the Hanzo. You don't have to worry about shooting into the Reinhardt shield. You can kind of go around it, go over it, go next to it. But they do, of course, have to do that within a specific window, because otherwise Oz will win that shield battle every day by breaking that Reinhardt barrier faster than the speed of light. Those nades do be doing a lot of damage.
Speaking of doing a lot of damage, out comes the tire. Oop, not quite through the window, in over the top. The combo with the grab for the 3K from Oz. Fox able to find Spicy. Shatter from O'Malley nullifies the impact of that nano boost. CF4 still able to find one, but the damage has been well and truly done here, Classy. Mace to Facebook gliding on through. The Dragon nicely positioned over the cart, buys a bit of space, but it means that Derek is just going to push on through and finds Spicy. Spicy is saved there by the immortality field, and against all odds, with only a handful of meters left on the payload, Amazon Fire Force fight the defense.
A lot of that is down to O'Malley going down in the previous fights. O'Malley was on very low HP for the longest time in that, while they shattered Xiphos and Panda Logic, and then they tried to do some other things. But unfortunately, they weren't really healed up in the meantime. And while the Reinhardt wasn't there for that engage, the re-engage is so much easier because that shield pressure isn't there.
Oh, that's a big old Graviton Surge, and if nothing else, has forced out that sound barrier. Spicy with the 3K. That's a magic number for our DPF today. We've seen 3Ks from Guok, 3Ks from Oz, and then the 3K from Spicy. Xylon, my friend, get yourself in on the action.
That recognition that shield from O'Malley was down was just perfect. I mean, it's just, you throw them in a grab, you know they're going to have to use that barrier to try and stay alive, especially against that shatter from Xiphos. And then there's just a free opening. They're not going to be able to run away quick enough to dodge your high noon, and they won't have a shield because you just broke it.
Looks like it might be Xylon's turn for the 3K. Dragons are going to come out. Will find the pick onto Guok, takes them out in the middle of the high noon. Xylon on the high ground takes out the immortality field, and there's just nobody even looking at Xylon right now.
Xylon is so free. I mean, it was kind of to be expected with that positioning in that last point, but it's getting to a point where it almost feels ridiculous how free Xylon is. And maybe that's because Guok and Oz are just playing too linear.
Just the ball out. Xylon's going to find one trace out with Panda Logic. Shatter from O'Malley, but the damage isn't there. Seaforce charge through, finds the miracle pin onto Wakecool, takes them out. Graviton Surge comes through, but another control ult with nobody there to do the follow-up of the heavy lifting. And now it's down. Keep this alive while the rest of the team come in. Walks there with the mechanical legs. The soldier that little bit quicker to get back onto the point. Oz is focused up in the middle of the Graviton Surge, but it has allowed O'Malley to get back in. Focus is there. And Mace the Facebook are not. That's as far as the payload goes. Amazon Fire Force with a very obvious win condition on the table.
Almost complete the map. Actually, yeah, it's still like a meter away from where it needs to be. It was very close that they completed it themselves. So it's still a work where you need to do on King's Row, but King's Row is a map that very often gets completed. So Amazon Fire Force definitely in a comfortable position to potentially close this out. That being said, we are still talking about a game mode and especially a compositional possibility for Mace to Facebook that has been proven most valuable for them so far in this series. If there is any map in which they can easily fight this back, or definitely can fight this back, it would be this one. I do feel that they still have the opportunity to hold them longer, especially on point A, but even on point B, and that can lead into such a low time bank for point C that it might not even matter how far that payload got.
Interesting composition if this is indeed what Amazon come out of the gates with. I think Guaka's been putting up such big numbers on the hit scan that you almost can't afford to run an Echo or a Pharah here anymore, at the very least not without a Mercy Pocket. So I think if they do come out with this, it's got to be a one and done for Xylon.
You would think so, but Xylon got a lot of freedom on that Hanzo that should have been equally easy to show off the high ground. So we'll see whether they actually want to do this. It's also seemed like Mace to the Facebook has a fairly linear approach to how they want to fight this. The flanks have been mostly controlled by Amazon.
Well, let's see how this works out. Xylon going to be playing this in a spammy style, just hovering around that statue of Mondata. It's free damage. Nobody's really there focusing him. Zephos is down early, though. Let's see, Spicy down too. Xylon's not been able to get a lot of damage done in this fight, and unless they start turning that around, they're going to find themselves at a bit of a disadvantage. That's one hold already for Mace to the Facebook, which is one more than Amazon managed.
Yep, half a minute down, 3.5 to go. We're seeing ult charge build up for several players, most notably Oz and Waycool. Of course, as a defensive fight winner, they would have that advantage, but we'll see if it carries on through.
Well, there's the tire over the top, and it only finds Xylon, but that might be enough, unless there's a very quick counter kill. Zephos desperately trying to stay in range over Mali and can't find NJ's up at high charge. The nano boost comes through, and Zephos becomes a hammer-swinging machine of death. Hasn't managed to take out Ambrosia and Guok, though, who have found some value. They're going to back away here. They know they can't keep this fight, but they might just buy enough time for the recontest.
Talk about micro plays making a big impact. It was literally just the anti-nade being thrown onto O'Malley after the bubble of Derek was already used. Now Derek gets spot on the high ground, doesn't even make it out. They wanted to go for the recontest, and unfortunately didn't make that happen. Now we're going to see Guak go down late. They're going to be able to push forward into the street space and still it's going to be a slaughter, I feel like. The charge. Oh no!
Oh, way cool! Down! Bring your daughter to the slaughter! Hammer not quite online just yet, but then his two right hands pushing forward in total synchronicity, and they are right up by the 3rd point spawn doors here. Yes, they've given up Zephos here. They're probably going to lose even more players on the way through, but we still got Panda just getting all the free push in the world here. And we're actually getting out with charge here for NJ. Going back to down though. Bouncing right the way back here for Mace to Facebook.
But they still haven't really stopped the card. They were that far forward.
This has been incredibly weird. What looked to be just a very powerful fight here for Amazon Fire Force has not netted them the progress they might have liked. And Derek came out of that with high charge and with the Graviton Surge to play with. And then they got the kills, and they can start to stall this card out just a little bit. NJ down. Derek looking for one more. Won't find it, but now here is the hole.
You would almost think that they were already fighting on point B, but the card still has a little bit to go. I think even if you win a fight, you might not be able to get it in straight away. You might have to try to recontest. A lot of ultimates aligned for both teams. Most notably, it's going to be how are you going to use this Graviton, and can Oz just close it out with just a tire? Because those are the big ones. I think Spice is looking for an angle though for that high noon.
Well, he's got a long flank to find something useful, and of course he's got to find something to do there around that immortality field. Spice is able to find one. The shatter comes through, interrupts the high noon. The entire team goes down, and Oz might have been just a teeny wee little bit too late with that tire. It finds two, but he's still alive, and he's still causing trouble as Pandalogic goes down here as well. But the chase is on, and Jake finds him in the pub, has a drink with him, sits him down, sends him back home in a cab.
Like you said, they actually traded back quite a little bit, so it's NJ versus Derek here to try and stay alive, but Derek didn't have the bubble. That's too much charge. Transcendence comes out actually to maybe confirm this point, but that's a big risk, especially with that sound barrier. Will the high noon do anything? Spice is looking for it, looking for a target, and gets way cool. That makes it over.
That's huge, and Xylon coming in with the miracle pin! Gets the connection. Oz is going to go down. There's nobody there left to get that last little bit of ult charge and get the shatter, but good progress all the same.
Amazon is just going to be taking this one, it looks like. But Guac is trying to have a say in that one. Oz is also getting up closer to another tire. Derek is close to another Graviton. It's not over by any means just yet, but 3.5 minutes is a long time to defend, even on King's Row 3rd.
It is, and a good shadow here from CFOS kind of puts paid to the whole thing. Playing close to this corner. Oh, they get a heck of a boot, and the shield comes up. Graviton Surge is out as well, and there's just too much damage. The nano boosted Reinhardt. It's tried. It's tested, it's tasty, it's curtains from Mace to the Facebookers, Amazon Fire Force, drive us across the line with the 3-0.
3-0, I would say convincing, but still close enough that it makes you wonder where Mace to the Facebook is going to go for the rest of the season. There's a lot of question marks still around this, naturally, you know, like how serious were they playing? Are these competitions they're actually going to be running? What have they been practicing? How long have the teams been together? We're all going to be able to hear that fairly soon after the match, because of course we do want to talk to some of these players if we get the chance to. But Phil, Amazon not really dropping a beat since last season.
No, there's a reason they were the number 2 team. There's a reason that Mace to the Face were the number 4 team. Even if these two teams were identical, there's not been that much time between them that you really expect those relative positions to change all that much. So you could probably have predicted this outcome, just except for the wild card of the new players from Mace to the Facebook, who I think have actually performed admirably here. And for me, Guok has been a real standout. I'm looking forward to seeing more of her play as we move our way through the regular season.
For sure. And, you know, especially for Guac, you really hope that we're going to get to some of more of those open space, mobility, dive-esque metas where that hit scan prowess can shine even more rather than just having all those barriers in the face. We know how it works. You know, barriers are very powerful, but sometimes you just want to click some heads and you don't want to be prevented in doing so. The next current experimental patch might be throwing a bit of a wrench in that plan, but we'll see how that goes when we get further in the season and further in the balance patches. For now, Phil, I think we're going to have a little bit of a short break before we go into that interview phase and get to talk to the lovely people.
Welcome back, everybody. The final part of today's broadcast is, of course, the interview, and we have Ziphos joining us from Amazon Fire Force. Ziphos, congratulations on the win. Granted, there's no points; it's all just for glory here. But how are you feeling on the back of that win?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it feels great. Obviously, it's just the preseason match, but it's still pretty nice to come in and get a win after we, um, had kind of a rough end to the last season, I would say, in the finals there. But then bringing things back together here, taking out Facebook, yeah, it's a good time.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Of course, we were talking about it a little bit before. It'd been a bit rusty for us as casters. Did you guys experience anything like that as well as players?
Absolutely, actually, yeah. That very first round on Busan, we were just kind of all over the place, but then we were able to kind of get back into the swing of things a little bit and
And I,
get our rhythm going, and I don't think we were ever really interrupted since then.
and I want to talk very briefly about how the team looked in that opening round because I couldn't help but notice Panda Logic in the first round was on DPS, a bit of Reaper, a bit of here and there, but had moved back
Mhm.
over onto the support by the end of the match. What was the thinking there, or was it just that Panda wanted to play a little bit of DPS?
Yeah, so I mean, Panda is very much like one of our best support players, but at the same time, he's really flexible. And so
Mm.
today we were just without one of our regular DPS players, and he was able to kind of step up and fill that role there, and I think really well.
Yeah, yeah, he did absolutely performed admirably.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, our
always good to see
usual.
players pick up different roles like that, right?
Absolutely, yeah, our usual DPS V for Taehyung just couldn't make it today. But
Yeah.
you'll be seeing more of him throughout the rest of the season, so be warned, we weren't even at full strength.
Yeah, we'd hope so. Obviously, I mean, obviously, Facebook came in with a kind of a different roster than you've played them last time.
Mhm.
Had you at all played them before this in this new setup, or was this like sort of a surprise to you? Like, how did that go?
No, yeah, we were actually really surprised because, traditionally, O'Malley, who was playing main tank today, has been sort of their star carry DPS player, and so we were like, all right, we're
Mm.
playing Facebook. We know we've gotta like prep for O'Malley's tracer, um, and then that ended up totally being exactly the opposite of what we actually ran into. So that was kind of interesting. It was fun getting to go up against him in the Rhine v Rhine battles there at the end. Um, but yeah, no, we hadn't played them at all with their current roster, so we're interested to see how that develops and how it changes their team as well.
Okay, so Xephos, last season, second place in the tournament overall.
Yeah.
How are you feeling for your chances in this upcoming season? And have you guys changed anything? What have you learned? What can we expect from you?
I mean, I think as a team, we're definitely really motivated and kind of fired up coming into this season. Because second last season and also second the season before that as well. So, we named the team Discord server third time's the charm. I think we're here to win. We're hungry for this one,
Hmm.
and I don't think we're gonna take second for an answer this time.
Okay, well, looking forward to putting the reality to those words. It's going to be great to see how you guys do across the season.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I mean, something we also are going to be talking about a lot throughout the season. But of course, being in the preseason, we can already start talking about it now. Because CEA is all about giving back to everybody, giving back to wonderful organizations around the world. And I think you guys have selected a new charity as opposed to last season. So maybe
Wait,
you
we
can
have?
start filling us some. I think so. It's called the National Alliance on Mental Illness,
Oh no, that's the same one as last
NAMI.
season.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the same one? Okay, that I
Yeah.
may maybe that's me just misremembering it, but, yeah, well, refresh us because 'cause it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, NAMI, like you said, National Alliance for Mental Illness. They're a really great charity. They do a lot of good work, and especially they do some things and have worked with pretty closely some of our team members in the past, actually. So it's a charity that's kind of close to our hearts. We were really happy that, you know, getting second obviously wasn't what we wanted, but we were really happy that we were still able to get some money to donate to them, and we're hoping to be able to do that again this year.
Yep,
We're
great to
looking
hear.
forward to seeing exactly how far you can take your fundraising efforts this season. But I think, Ziffles, that brings us probably to the end of the interview portion. We'll let you go and celebrate with the rest of your team this early inaugural win. Before you go, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Uh, Hi, Mom. Thanks, guys.
Hi,
Love you
Ziffles'
all.
mum. Nice to see you, Josephos. And of course, that's going to be it for today's broadcast. Thank you very much for tuning into the preseason. Always wonderful to bring you just a little bit of fun before the real serious meat of the season starts proper next week, in fact. So hope you will join us then for even more action. In the meantime, I've been Big Hungry Phil. I've got Classy with me, bringing you the rest of the action today. Classy, before we go, any last words for the people?
Well, actually, quite exciting thing is
Oh,
we're actually going to be trying to do 2 games on game days from
yes.
now on. So might not always work out. You know, we always have to work with team scheduling as well, of course. But we are trying to give you those 2 games in a row, so you don't know you're not only here for maybe an hour, but you might be here for 4 hours in a row. Which is also, fun for us because then we just get to talk about more Overwatch, Phil. So I'm looking forward to that. Again, might not be every week, but we'll try to update that to you as much as we can, and hopefully everyone enjoys it.
Hopefully. Well, guys, it's been great. I've missed this. I've missed you. I've missed Classy. I've missed Overwatch in general. So can't wait to bring you even more next week. Good night and take care, everybody.